Like, just hang above the treetops, like. And underneath this box shape, there was a four-wheel sort of like plate, something like a skateboard. And there was well, it wasn't like a window, more like a porthole. And it looked rather humanoid. It could be a practical joker, I don't know, but it really gave me a...
Please listen to my ditty. It may not be very witty, nor even slightly funny, but it will help save you money. For me, from cradle to grave, I aim to shop and save. I buy out I need, for next to nought indeed. There's meat and veg and cheese and pigs and booze and clothes and cards and sweets and pigs and pet food and household things. So shop and save a load down Blackpool's Waterloo Road. In the market they call new, and Overt Road the M2. Thank you. Poetry in prices from the New Market and M2 Market.
It's the place to come where shopping can be fun. The New Market, Waterloo Road.
Country music acts, have you entered the Red Rose Radio Frontierland talent competition yet? Remember, the first prize is a holiday for two in Nashville, USA, courtesy of Transamerica Holidays and National Travel World, plus a 2-day recording session at Avenue Parade Recording Studios in Accrington for broadcast on My Country Choice program, and the opportunity for regular work at Frontierland, Morecambe's Wild West theme park. Heats are on Sunday afternoons in August at Frontierland, and each heat winner will walk away with £50 and go through to the final. Just send details of your act with your name and address to me, Mike Tunstall, Red Rose Radio, P.O. Box 301, St Paul's Square in Preston. Do it now. We need your entry before the 24th of July, and you could be on your way to Nashville.
Glendon Motors, Peugeot Tolbert.
Glendon Motors, Lancashire's #1 Peugeot dealer, announced the special E-Edition Peugeot 205 Junior, the car with everything and nothing. Everything like white colour scheme, denim upholstery, rear wash wipe, reclining seats, 5 doors. And nothing because Glendon Motors are offering you 0% APR finance on this exclusive car. Ask for written details or call now. Glendon Motors, Blackpool Road, Preston. Phone 735 811.
Glendon Motors, Peugeot Tolbert.
And our final caller before the melodic moment is Rod. No, it's not, it's Jeff. How do, Jeff?
Hello, Alan.
Yep.
I've been working at this place for about a month and a half now, and they pay me monthly. And my wages have bounced. My first check's bounced, and I got a letter through the other day saying it bounced again, but the check was being represented. And I was wondering what I could do about it if it bounced again or not.
I would go into your employer and say, I'm sorry, your checks are bouncing, I want cash in future.
Well, what if he's not getting the cash?
Leave the job, he's not paying you. You're not about to work for...
court or anything like that?
Take him to court for the money he owes you presently, but don't give him the opportunity to owe you any more by continuing to work without money.
Oh. Well, will Citizen Vars help me?
Yes. I suggest you go to them. You're obviously not happy with what I say, but if you're prepared to work for nothing, I can find you a job, no trouble at all. It's melodic moment time! And we start with David Gates and The Goodbye Girl. And it's lovely. Believe it or not, there's a collaboration with George Benson and somebody called Earl Clue. Yes, George Benson, that's George Benson. And the LP's called Collaboration. That one is called For Reasons That Escape Me. No, that's not what it's called, but what it is called, The Reasons That Escape Me, if you follow me drift. I didn't think you would. It's called Since You're Gone. It's probably the music that drove you away. I prefer that by... No, I don't. It's the wrong one. Yes, I do. The Beatles. But for a minute there, I thought it was You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, which was done best by Silky. You won't even remember that. Very nearly 10 minutes to 1. That's the time, not the phone number.
Whilst most things will be just the same as in years past, at the 1987 Lakeland Row Show, one thing will be different. This year's show will be at the County Show Field in Kendal. There'll still be lots going on, including marching displays and concerts by the Gurkha Rifles, a recording of the BBC's Gardener's Question Time, over 200 trade stands and expert advice from the country's top gardeners. The Lakeland Row Show, Saturday and Sunday the 18th and 19th of July at the County Show Field, Kendal. Follow the RAC signs from the M6 for a great family day out with free parking. Accompanied children under 16 gain admission free.
Ring him if you dare.
Allan Beswick, the late night show.
8 minutes to 1. It's about time we went back to the lines. The telephone number is Preston 561000. Do you remember Kajagoogoo? Whatever happened to them? This is called Too Shy. Preston 561000 to join us on the phone in. There's about an hour of phone calls left. Hardly worth tuning in, really. How do George?
Good morning, Alan.
Good morning.
I'd like to talk about the lad that was on 5 minutes before the melodic moment. He was talking about diets. Do you remember him?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he was referring to a company that's come over from America. It's been in Britain for...
You don't know that? He didn't identify it.
Pardon?
He didn't identify it.
No, but it's been in Britain for 7 years now.
Well, how do you know? He didn't identify it. You don't know which company he's referring to.
Well, the name he referred
didn't give
to...
a name.
Well, he
didn't give a name.
He used the term distributor.
Well, there are a number of different diets that have distributors, so he didn't identify it in any way, shape or form. Indeed, if he had have done, I'd have cut him off.
Well, I took it as the company that
I don't really care what you took it as, George. He didn't identify it.
Okay, fine. Well, what I want to talk about is the company I'm working for, and it's not a diet that the company offer, it's a health...
So now you're telling me that he was talking about your diet company that isn't a diet company. Have you been drinking?
No.
Then why are you talking such utter and complete gibberish?
I'm not talking gibberish.
You're telling me that this guy who came on to talk about a diet, that he was obviously working for the same company as you, and the reason you give me is because you don't sell diets. Are you stupid?
No.
Why are you behaving so?
I'm not.
Then, can you actually explain to me how you gleaned from his conversation that he was talking about your company, given that he clearly and categorically stated that he was talking about a diet company, and yours is not? Are you telling me your company lies?
No.
Are you telling me that he was lying and you knew it to be so?
No.
Then what are you telling me? Because at the moment you're talking gibberish.
I was going to tell you about what the company offers.
Well, I'm not interested about that at the moment. I want to know why you think he was talking about your company, when your company, according to you, clearly does not sell diets.
I've already said that. The term he used, distributor, and I know you answered...
There's a distributor on every motor car that has an internal combustion engine. Do they make you thinner as well? Buy a Jaguar and get thin, you gob-headed prat. Get off. Why is the world full of cretins? How do, John?
Oh, Alan?
Yes?
I'm talking about the same thing, about the diets. Now, I agree with the point of fact that you're probably talking about is they're making money off of other people. Now,
I'm not talking about anything. Why is everyone accusing me? I'm not talking about anything. A guy came on the radio, started prattling on about diets, and that was all he said.
Well, it was just your attitude. You said you don't think anybody should sell diets.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, that's fair enough. But what I want to say is, what is wrong with people caring about the way other people look and feel, and whatever?
Nothing wrong with it. It's just all these diet companies are a pack of lies. Don't go away with you after the news.
The 1 o'clock news. This is Mike Carson. Mrs. Thatcher is facing a new threat in her drive to stop publication of intelligence secrets. A former British spy master is planning to publish memoirs naming 2 ex-MI6 colleagues who he claimed worked for the Russians, along with Philby, Burgess, Maclean and Blunt. Desmond Bristow, the former head of British counterintelligence in Western Europe, says he has no qualms about identifying the previously unknown suspects.
I feel I have impunity because what I am going to say is, or have already written down, is not, I think, going to embarrass anybody or any government. It might embarrass a few people, yes, but not unduly. The air has blown pretty warm round them before, and they just hasn't sort of got to the stage of where they have been named.
Neil Kinnock has been warning his new front bench team in the Commons that he won't tolerate any attempts to undermine his leadership. The Labour leader says, above all else, the party must show unity and avoid damaging splits. From Westminster, Judith Dawson reports.
There are no longer, it seems, any holy cows in Labour policy. Mr Kinnock is fighting to wrench his party into the late 20th century, and he's making plain that those who aren't with him are against him.
Those who want to win are in such monumental majority that the others, even if they exist, won't matter.
Which sounds like a clear warning to the so-called loony left that they have no place anymore in Mr Kinnock's modern Labour Party. Judith Dawson, IRN, Westminster.
Much of the South Yorkshire coalfield could grind to a halt today as pickets try to extend strikes already hitting 6 pits in the area. The stoppages are in protest at action taken against 6 miners who refused to attend a new-style disciplinary hearing imposed by British Coal. John Shires reports.
British Coal imposed their new disciplinary code in March without NUM agreement, and the miners are furious. Their annual conference rejected it last week, and now Yorkshire miners look set to provoke a confrontation. 3,000 are already out at 6 pits, and delegates have voted to escalate the action by picketing every colliery in the south of the county today. Meanwhile, trouble's brewing in the showpiece Selby coalfield, where a union branch secretary has been sacked. Privately, officials are forecasting the entire Yorkshire area will soon be at a standstill. John Shires, IRN, Yorkshire.
The government is under fire for not doing enough to help the homeless. Lord Scarman, the president of the International Year of Shelter for the Homeless, is warning that thousands of families face years in bed and breakfast hotels unless the government provides rented homes at a price they can afford. He says the money raised by the sale of council houses must be used to give people homes.
That money is not available for investment in new housing, low cost, whether for buying or for renting. Well, the Prime Minister said on election night her first 2 priorities were housing in the cities. It's up to the rest of us to keep them to those priorities.
Independent Radio News.
Ring him if you dare.
Allan Beswick, the late night show.
Well, it's just after 3 minutes past 1. If you wish to join us on the programme in this, the final hour, the telephone number is Preston 561,000.
24 hours, 24 hours, where grows leaves, all that you hear, stereo.
Now then, John.
Right. You just went on. You said the diets are full of all sorts of nonsense.
I didn't say they were full of all sorts of nonsense.
Well,
I said they don't work.
Well, what? Right, fair enough. These diets and everything that are brought
Are you
over...
telling me that you agree that they don't work?
No, I don't agree that they don't work. I agree they do work.
And there's only one way to lose weight.
And how's that? Exercise?
Eat less.
Eat less. Right. Now, there's lots of food. You go into a supermarket and there's lots of food on the supermarket shelves.
Well, Ecky Thump, you're right. I'd never noticed until now.
Yeah, well, fair
There is
enough.
only one way to lose weight, and that is to reduce your calorific intake.
Yeah.
There is no other way.
Well, the
evidence is that Belson didn't have one fat Jew. And it's because they didn't get a lot of food. It wasn't because they were jogging freaks. It wasn't because they were all drinking a special kind of tea. It wasn't because they were eating some special food. It wasn't because they were following some programme. It's because they didn't get enough to eat. There wasn't a fat Jew in Belson. That is evidence enough for me that the only way to lose weight is to eat less.
Yeah, but what this...
When you say yes, does that mean you agree?
Well, no.
Tell me
nowadays,
how this.
yeah,
Tell me.
used to work,
Tell me
yeah.
how. What do you mean it used to work?
It used to work because
Oh, the human
nowadays-
body has changed. Well, this is
No,
astounding.
No.
Did my father's change because he
No,
was alive
no.
then? Does it mean that he has to eat less to diet, but I'm okay? I can eat some chemical.
No.
Tell me what your diet does.
Our diet deals not only with losing weight, it deals with gaining weight and with maintaining
I'm not interested
weight.
in gaining weight. I'm not interested in maintaining weight. I'm talking about reducing diets. I said there's only one way to lose weight. Can your diet make you lose weight?
Yes,
How?
with what it contains.
I asked you how. What does it contain?
It cleans out the whole system.
Oh,
For-
garbage! It'll make you lose weight overnight because you lose
No,
fluids.
no,
You
it's
are
not
selling.
overnight.
You are selling lies. Good night. You're not selling them on this program. There's only one way to reduce your weight, and that is to eat less. There isn't a doctor in the world that says otherwise. You, sir, are a lying prat. But I hope you make some money at it because that's what you're in the business for. Hello, Douglas.
How do, Alan? I'd like some information, please. Are you on for this programme for the duration of the school holidays?
Not the duration, but some of it. I also am on holiday during the course of, I think it's August. I've got 3 weeks off in August.
Also, something very quickly. You know your music spot, Melodic Moment?
Yes, I do know it.
Shouldn't it really be the melodic 15 minutes? Because it's not really a moment, it's on for 3 or 4 songs.
In the annals of the time, 'tis only a moment. It depends on what you compare it with.
Why do you call it the Melodic Moment?
Because it's a literal.
Well, you say that you're not a disc jockey, but yet you do play these records.
Indeed I do, but I don't select them or anything else. I merely put them on the turntable and start it up. I know nothing about them.
Do you like the records you put on?
I like some, I dislike others.
Okay, right, thank you, Alan.
A pleasure, sir. How do Mandy? How do Phil?
Hello, Alan?
Yes?
Yeah, there was a bloke on before called Jeff about his wages check.
Yes.
And what it is I look at the same company, and today my check's gone through. So his check will be cleared tomorrow if he puts it back in.
How do you know he works at the same
because
company?
what it is I rung Jill up earlier on, another girl who works here, sort of thing. And
That's nothing to do with it.
Well.
How do you know he was from the same company?
I can tell.
How can you tell?
I could tell with his voice for one.
Well, why don't you tell him at work tomorrow? How do Derek?
Alan, you know when you come on, why did they take your phone number?
So that we have your phone number to ring you back. How do nobody, but we'll talk to Richard in a minute.
Whether you're considering a Citroen, Lada or Ford for E-Day on August the 1st, give the rest the big E for John Wilding. Right now, John Wilding is getting all excited by offering truly exceptional deals on all 3 of these makes, along with extremely low finance on selected models. You're always guaranteed John Wilding's excellent after-sales service too, and exceedingly generous part exchange allowances. So see how easy John Wilding makes buying E-Reg cars with Citroen and Lada at Banbury Garage, Westgate Morecambe, and Ford on the A6 Gar Stand.
Hello there. I'm just having my HGV driving lesson with North Manchester HGV. They do hourly lessons and intensive courses to put you on the right road. If you're an HGV or PSV novice, for just £30, you can have a full 2-hour assessment, including licence and medical fee. Now, if you pass with them, they'll guarantee you a job interview. So, what are you waiting for? Ring North Manchester HGV Training Centre on Bolton 23235. That's Bolton 23235.
Please listen to my ditty. It may not be very witty, nor even slightly funny, but it will help save you money. For me, from cradle to grave, I aim to shop and save. I buy out I need, for next to nought indeed. There's meat and veg and cheese and pigs and booze and clothes and cards and sweets and pigs and pet food and household things. So shop and save a load down Blackpool's Waterloo Road, in the market they call new, and over road the M2. Thank you. Poetry in prices, from the New Market and M2 Market.
It's the place to come, where shopping can be fun. The Newmarket Waterloo Road.
I'll do Richard.
Hello, I'd like to know, I get to a job centre every day, and most of the jobs that I apply for, the people behind the desk say, no, you can't apply for them because I've got a tattoo in the back of my hand. Is that right?
Well, if they don't want you with a job, or they don't want you in the job with a tattoo on the back of your hand, they don't have to employ you.
I know, but it's not them I'm talking about. Could they not at least let me apply for the job and let the employer decide, can I?
What sort of a job is it?
It's like various jobs again, no, because I'm unemployed. I try for most things.
Well, it sounds to me like the job centre are overstepping the mark. Or the tattoo. How do Mandy?
Hello, Alan. I'm sorry about before.
It's all right. What do you want?
I've got a phone cut myself off. We're having a discussion tonight about bad debt. And I don't know whether I'm right on, but I say a bad debt is a bad debt. It doesn't matter how long it's for. But my friend said, no, after a certain number of years, like if it's owe money to a credit company, that after a certain number of years, that is a bad debt, especially if the company merges with another one. Now, who's right, they or me?
Neither of you.
Oh.
There's no such thing as a legal definition of a bad debt.
Let's say somebody else owes a credit company sort of, say, a couple of £100, and this, say, over 15 years, 16 years, right? And this company then merges with another company. Is that still debt.
After that time, the credit company is more than likely going to have written that debt off.
I see.
It is purely an accountancy term, a bad debt. A bad debt is a debt that is owed to you, or an amount of money that is owed to you, that you are having difficulty or are unlikely to collect. That's all. It's a bad debt. It is a debt, but it's not one that you can claim as income, or can decide, or the income tax can say you have as income, because you're unlikely to ever get the money. That's all a bad debt is. A bad debt never, ostensibly never, becomes a non-debt, but you can write it off against tax loss. You can say, well,
that's what I said.
now there is no time limit at which you can write it off.
No.
It's a matter of variance. You'd have to negotiate with income tax authorities. If you're writing off too much as bad debt, they would want to know why. But I don't know of any regulations that say how much you can write off and how frequently. Having said that, if there is another thing that you might be confusing it with, and that is a thing called statute barred. If somebody owes you money, you have an obligation to tell them and to continue to tell them, because if you do not tell them they owe you money, and you had opportunity to do so for a period of 6 years, I think it is, then you cease to be entitled to that money.
I see. So therefore, if it's just say the company has not been in touch with the people who owe them money for say 10, 12 years, then they can't suddenly sort of turn up and say you've not done anything about this
If
money.
they decided to sue, it would probably be that the courts would not permit them to succeed, because it is statute barred. Having said that, if the person has changed address or anything like that, if there is any substantive reason as to why the company hasn't reminded you of your debt to them, then they can argue it isn't statute barred, we've just not been able to get in touch or what have you.
And then they can still claim the debt.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I see. Well, I thought I was right. So you've settled an argument. Thank you very
Well,
much.
they can only claim it providing they have a reason for not getting in touch, or that they have been in touch.
All right.
All right?
Yes, thank you
Cheers.
very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
How do, Cliff?
Yes, hello there, Al. Last week, I went to a pub, which is my local pub. I won't say the name.
It's all right.
I walked in and got myself a drink, you know. And one of the, I think it was the bar staff, come up to me and said I'd have to leave. So I asked for the reason why, and they said they didn't need a reason, and therefore I had to leave me drink and leave the premises. The next day, I went down, and funny enough, the area manager was there. I had a word with the area manager, and he said, well, the manager doesn't want you in the pub. And I was just wondering how I go about, because it's my local pub. There isn't another pub for, a good way. I was wondering what to do about it. And
There's little you can do about it, to be honest. If it's a managed house, you can write to the brewery's management department and ask them for permission to drink in their pub above and beyond what the manager wants. But the manager is, on the face of it, under no obligation to serve you. Now, if his employers tell him to do so, then he's got to, because that's his employer's instructions, and he either does as he's told or gets sacked, just like every other employee. But he's not legally under any obligation to serve you. He can refuse to serve anybody.
Yeah,
He doesn't need a reason.
He doesn't need a reason?
Doesn't need a reason, no. I mean, he presumably has one, but he doesn't have to have a reason.
I can't think of anything, you know.
No, fine, but he doesn't have to have a reason.
No. Is there anybody I can write to?
Yes, I just told you who. The management department of the pub, of the brewery.
Yeah.
If it's a managed house. If it's a tenant's house, then they're going to write back and say, well, it's a tenancy and he can do what he likes.
So, will he give me a reason then?
He may not give you a reason, but he may approach the manager and say why, and what are you going to do about it? Why has this person been banned from drinking our beer that we make a massive profit on?
That's all I can do about it, really.
Yes, the manager, as far as you're concerned, the manager has the right to refuse to serve you. As far as the brewer is concerned, the manager will only have that right if it is in accordance with brewery policy.
Yeah.
Because whilst you have no claim against him, you have no right to tell him what to do, obviously his employers has. His first responsibility is to them.
So, there's a restaurant at the side, and my mother took me in there, and they're still refusing me in the restaurants as well.
Well, that's part of the same premise, so he's entitled to refuse you.
Yeah.
The only way you're going to get that overturned is by approaching the brewery, if it's a managed house, and saying, why are they refusing me? What have I done? And if they tell you what you're supposed to have done, then you can either deny it or admit it and apologise or what have you. Okay? Cheers.
Thank you very much.
I'll do... Simon.
How do?
Go to bed, Simon. You ought to have been in bed hours ago, you naughty little boy. How do John?
Hello, Alan.
What do you want?
About dieting, please. I happen to know a little bit about it, being that I'm 31 stone, and I've been...
You don't sound like you know much about
well,
it.
No, what
31 stone.
What I'm trying to say, really, is what you said about all these people that keep saying, you can do this, you can do that. I've had this weight problem for, nigh on 40 years. And since I'm now 57, and from being 20, I came out of the army when I was 20, for my national service, and I was over 20 stone then. So I think I know what I'm talking about. What you said is absolutely right. The only way you'll take weight off is by virtually starving.
Well, not by virtually starving, but by eating less.
Well, yes, definitely. There's no, I mean, all these things that they keep saying, you buy this and you can go on these Swedish milk diets that you try all sorts. But they don't work. At the end of the day, as soon as you might take a little bit of weight off with certain things, but as soon as you